Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to AAT Q2022, where I'm going to be going through some key aspects of this new qualification. So I just want to do a quick check. Can you all hear me loud and clear? And if you can do so, could you let me know through the chat panel? Thank you. Just put a quick message. Hello. Fantastic. Okay then, right. So just want to introduce myself. My name is Sally Brummett. I am Head of AAT Product here at Kaplan Financial. I've actually been working at Kaplan Financial for 17 years, of which I am an FR financial reporting tutor, and I teach across all of the qualifications, so AAT, ICAW, ACCA and CIMA. Okay, so without further ado, what I would like to do is start going through Q2022. So just going to ask you all a question. What have you heard about Q2022? And also sort of what you're hoping to get out of this session, if I can speak. So Rebecca's saying nothing, that's okay. You're going to learn lots today. What are you actually looking to get out of today? Like, oh, hoping to learn. Probably all about Q22. Okay, so you're all been a bit shy on the chat panel, but please feel free at any point. Ask me some questions, just do it through the chat panel. If you feel like you're going to have a bit of a long question and you don't want to miss what I'm saying, you can either wait to the end where there's going to be opportunity for you to ask questions, or if you want to ask a question while I'm talking, just put QQ in the chat panel. I know that there's a question to come in, and then I'll obviously pause while you type up your answer. Okay, right then, so we've got a couple more people who have put what they're looking for. So basically seeing how to change from the qualification on now and how to transition. Okay, that's fantastic, which is one of the key things I'm going to be going through is really, should you stay on AQ16 on the current qualification you are on now, or should you move? And obviously there's some yes you could, or no you may not want to. Okay, so some people are saying, don't know very much, which is fantastic, because it's going to be a while before Q22 comes into fruition. So really have an awareness now and therefore planning your studies effectively. Okay, so another one saying, should you switch from AQ16 to Q22? Is it going to be beneficial? Okay, so I've got the feeling that most people are saying, currently studying on AQ16, should I move over? And that's what I'm going to be going through today. Okay, and then we want to find out how to register for Q22 and when I can do this. So hopefully I will be able to answer all your questions. So without further ado, let's jump into my slides so that I can obviously show you what I'm going to be covering, and hopefully I think I've covered all of your questions so far. So just bear with me a second. Here we go. So purpose of the session, what am I going to be going through? I think I'm going to be answering all your questions that you've all put in the chat panel, which is fantastic. So yeah, I'm going to give you a quick overview of Q2022, because I appreciate that some people won't know much about the new qualification. So I wanted to go over this is what the new qualification looks like before I went, and let's move into the shall you transfer over. So yeah, I will also be going through transitional guidance. Then I'm going to be looking at the Q2022 registration fees, because there is a significant difference to what you're doing now on AQ16 to Q2022, and that might have a deciding factor on whether you move over or not. And then also key dates. So like, when does Q22 come into play? So when can you register? When can you start sitting the exams? Also as well, when can you start buying our courses from Kaplan ourselves, so from our website. So hopefully, if you do have any other questions, please feel free to ask at any point. Okay then, so let's have a look at the overview for Q2022. Q2022. Okay, so let's start with level 2 certificate in accounting. So the thing that is also, you know, fundamental is that we're now going back to levels. So on AQ13, so many moons ago, it used to be level 2, level 3, level 4. Then it went to certificate, diploma, and then professional. Now that's gone back to level 2. So this is going to be referred to as level 2 certificate in accounting. There are going to be 4 compulsory units. Okay, so 3 of the units are not a million miles away from what you're currently, or what you may have currently studied on AQ16. So we've got Introduction to Bookkeeping, which is the equivalent to the BTRM, so Bookkeeping Transactions. You've then got Principles of Bookkeeping Control, so that's very similar to the BKCL, so Bookkeeping Controls. And then you've got Principles of Costing, so it's very similar to ELCA, so Elements of Costing. So yeah, then there's some little tweaks and changes, but nothing fundamental, okay? And that does play with the transitional, whether you can, you know, if you've got those units, will they transfer over to Q22? But we'll have a look at that shortly. What is new, okay, is business environment. And this is a synoptic. It is replacing FSYA. So it does have some elements of that unit in there, so like working effectively in finance, you know, how to deal with communications, but there are some new elements that are being examined here in this unit. So particularly, you know, there's going to be an awareness, or you'll be learning about internal and external business environments. You'll also be learning some ethical principles, okay? And what will happen is that you will build on those units when you move on to level 3, okay? Now, if you are going to be a fee-paying student, so you're paying for yourself or your employer is paying for you, so not on an apprenticeship, they are the 4 units that you need to complete. So yet you still got the synoptic, okay? So you're still going to be examined on Introduction to Bookkeeping, Principles of Bookkeeping Control, and Principles of Costing. So this is the only synoptic that is going to appear for fee payers along over the 3 qualifications, okay? So yeah, we've got Bessie. Now, if you are on an apprenticeship, okay, you will have to do your endpoint assessment, okay, and that hasn't changed. It's still the interest, so that's not changed whatsoever, okay? So that's kind of level 2 in a nutshell. So no massive changes apart from we've lost the FSYA synoptic, but now we've got the business environment and everybody has to do the synoptic, okay? So Shane just asked a question. You've just started AAT, okay, and started studying your first module. How does Q22 affect you? It depends. You can either stay on AQ16 or you can transition through, but it depends. If you're on an apprenticeship, you would obviously need to speak to your talent coach or whoever looks after you on your apprenticeship if you're a non-Kaplan student. So basically it'd be a conversation is, do I move over or do I not? And that decision will sit with the apprenticeship team. Okay, so hopefully, Shane, I will be able to answer that question when we start to look at the transitional guidance. Okay, so has anybody got any questions in relation to the level 2 certificate in accounting? So what we do say is that using accounting software has gone. Okay, it's being merged in with the other units. You will not be expected to use any software, but there will be reference to the software when you are being taught, like, oh, you know, when you do control accounts, you know, you'd run a report with your debtors and your creditors report, and then you check it against, you know, your nominal ledgers. It'll be that type of reference to accounting software. So you will not be expected to use any accounting software. You will not be examined on accounting software, but there may be mentions of it in your assessments. Okay. So there we go with level 2. Okay, so not massive changes. You might think there is, but you know, 3 units that you've already got under AQ16 still does remain, and part of the unit FSYA does exist within Bessie. I call it Bessie anyway. Okay then, so let's now move on to level 3. Okay, so with level 3, this is now referred to as level 3 diploma in accounting. Okay, and there are 4 units. Okay, for fee paying students, for apprenticeships, you've obviously then got the endpoint assessment. So there are some big changes here, okay, and therefore will affect you from a transitional point of view if you do want to transfer over, but I will cover that later on. So first of all, we have got a unit called Financial Accounting, Preparing Financial Statements. So I refer to it as FAPS. Now, this is a merger of AVBK, so your advanced bookkeeping course, and your FAPR, which is your preparing financial accounts for sole traders and partnerships. So they've taken 2 units and they've merged it into 1. So there are some learning objectives that have been removed, but it is a phenomenal unit. Okay, so it's a big unit. So, you know, there's a lot to learn in terms of this unit. I'm not putting you off, I'm just preparing you. Okay, so that is a merger of AVBK and FAPR. So it's still the same unit content that is exactly there. They've taken some stuff out and they've put some stuff in. So ratios is now starting to be examined through this unit, but only a few ratios. It's not a massive amount, okay? But it, you know, it's the building blocks for when you move on to the financial paper in level 4. So the other unit is management accounting techniques, okay, so referred to as MATs, and this includes the current unit, so MMAC, but also in this new unit, it will also examine you on spreadsheets. So the spreadsheet units that you are now doing separately, because of the changes that the AAT introduced in September, it's that unit that's now been combined into the management accounting paper. Okay, so you're going to be learning management accounting and spreadsheets. To me, it makes really good sense. As a management accountant myself, you know, you're using like spreadsheet techniques to help you make decisions, you know, from a management accounting perspective. Also, we've got tax processes for business. So basically, it's similar to what we have under AQ16. So we've got indirect tax. However, though, there's more focus on making tax digital. So as you all know, we all need to submit our VAT returns digitally, which means that all of the information that we're producing is produced digitally. So the difference is it's looking at making sure we are I'm trying to think that we're making sure that we're verifying, we're making sure that the detail, the information is correct before we submit to HMRC. There's also a little bit of payroll in there, so payroll, tax and payroll, not learning how to do payroll, but it's the tax relating around the payroll. So that's new coming into the syllabus. And then we've got a brand new unit, which is called business awareness. So this is not replacing ADSY, because ADSY is still being examined through the endpoint assessment, but what it's doing is building on what you will have learned if you have done level 2 on the business environment. So a lot of the content will be ethical, so you'll be learning ethics and the principles in certain situations and scenarios, but you'll also be taking it that bit further with the business environment. So you're going to be looking like PESTEL and the SWOT analysis. Okay, so be a very interesting unit. Okay, so there you kind of your 4 units. So if you're a fee payer, so funding yourself, or your employee's paying, so you're not an apprenticeship, you only have to complete these 4 units. And I think the significant difference here under the level 3 is that you no longer have to do the synoptic. That now becomes the endpoint assessment for apprenticeship students. Okay, so ADSY, you know, from AQ16, it's exactly the same under Q2022. Okay, so anybody got any questions? I know some people have asked me some questions. I'm just going to have a look at the chat panel, but I just really wanted to go through the qualification. So not massive changes, it's just a combination of units being combined together, or some units coming into another unit, like as I said, with the management accounting techniques. Okay, so I'm just having a look at Shane. You're saying you self-funded, you just started bookkeeping transactions, so you could sound like, so basically, Shane, and I'm going to be saying this, is, you know, continue studying, don't stop. Okay, you know, we've all had our lives disrupted, you know, over the last couple of years. Don't stop. Okay, keep on studying. There will be a point where we can say, right, yes, you can transfer over, but there are some disadvantages which I will go through, Shane, which might make you rethink of whether you should or shouldn't. Okay, so Alice has said, will there be information about the cost of each module and the exam fees? I've not included the exam fees, but I've included the registration fees, because if you're going to be sitting an exam at Kaplan, it might slightly differ from other training providers, okay, because of the administration fees that the training providers put on. But, you know, yes, there will be the price will go up for the exam fees, and that's because the AAT have increased the exam fees. Does this all start from February? Yes, it does. Okay, so bear with me. Let's have a look now at level 4, okay. So what we got here, so there's not been a massive amount of change in level 4 from AQ16 to Q2022. So we still have our compulsory units, but instead of having 4, they've now been reduced to 3. So what's the big changes? Well, we've now got applied management accounting, so AMAC. Now that is a combination of MABU, okay, so that was managing accountants with budgets, and then MDCL, so management accountants but with controls. So they've taken those 2 units and merged them together. And the reason for doing that is they've taken out the repetition, because there was, you know, some stuff that is examined in both, and they've taken that out, and you've now got a, you know, a sizable unit. There has been some content that's been taken out under Q22, but there's some new content in there. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the intricate details, but I'm just saying is that basically they've taken 2 units and they've merged them into 1. We've then got drafting and interpretation of financial statements, so DAIF, okay. No changes really from FSLC, okay. It is practically more or less the same exam. There's some little tweaks, but very, very little, okay. And then finally, okay, we've then got internal accounting systems and controls. So what they've done is they've taken the PDSY, which you do get examined on internal controls, and basically they've now made this a compulsory unit. Okay, so that's really, really important for you to understand. So yeah, you've got 3 compulsory units, and then you've got your 5 optional units, of which you have to choose 2 in order to get the qualification, but you can do more than 2 if you want to. So effectively, we've got business tax and personal tax. So they're just replacing the current business and personal tax. There's some little tweaks and some little changes, but essentially not a million miles away from what you're already doing in AQ16. You've then got audit and assurance. So there has been a significant change here. It's gone from 2 hours to 2.5 hours. So there's a lot more written elements in this exam, okay? You've then got cash and financial management, and then cash and debt management, which is just replacing the old units under AQ16. So all in all, not massive amount of changes. So the optional units, you know, they're all the same, some, you know, slight changes. Obviously with the compulsory, yes, instead of having 4, you will only have 3. Okay, so Julie's saying, are the last exams? Yes, there will be less exams. So under AQ16, you would have had 6 exams. Now you only have 5 to complete. Okay, actually, no, you would have had less. There is a lot less exams, because no, just thinking you've got MABU, MDCL, FSLC. No, actually, you would have had 7. So you've gone from 7 exams to 5. However, though, before you go, oh, that looks really good, the applied management accounting is, you know, obviously got 2 units in 1. So yes, it's only 1 exam, but the, you know, the amount of content that you have to learn hasn't really changed. Okay, it's just been examined in 1 exam instead. Okay. So Mina is asking, what is optional units? So the optional units at level 4 means you have a choice. So there are 5 optional units to choose from, of which you've only got to choose 2 in order to qualify on this level. Okay, so, you know, it depends on your interests. you know, and maybe what you're going to be doing further on once you've qualified with your AAT into terms in where, you know, which units you want to do. So, you know, you get certain exemptions when you move on to RCAW and also onto ACCA. Okay, so they're the things to bear in mind. Okay. Okay, so Lauren's saying, what happens if you've only got 3 exams remaining? Lauren, I'm hoping I'm going to answer that query when we start to look at the transitional guidance. So I'm going into quite a little bit of detail in terms of if you've got this unit or that unit, what should you do? Okay, so if you are on an apprenticeship, then you will have to do your endpoint assessment, of which you will have to do PDSY. So it is a pre-C, okay, that you will get to see prior to the exam, and then basically you'll be asking questions, but you know, it will also be drawing on the knowledge that you've also learned on your compulsory units, so your planned management accounting, your drafting financial statements, and your internal control. Shane saying, are there exemptions if you decide to do CMA? Yes, you get exempt from the I think I'm going to say knowledge level, I can never remember what it's called. So you then would start on the operational level. So you get an exemption from the bottom level, but not from on the operational levels. So no, so if you were thinking of doing ACCA, you'd get exemption on the knowledge levels, but if you were to do business and personal tax, it would help immensely for when you come to do the tax unit at the ACCA level. RCAW, you would need to do 3 optional units, so business tax, personal tax, and audit and assurance, to be exempt from the certificate level. Okay, so these are just things to bear in mind, but you know, if you're only on level 2 or level 3, it's a little bit of a while off. Okay, so Tracy's just asked a really good question. Just a little bit more clarity on AQ16 levels. So in terms of AVSY, Tracy, that exam no longer exists. So the AAT, as of September 2021, has now split the unit. So when you were doing AVSY, you had the ethics, you had the synoptic, and then you also had the spreadsheet. So section 1 of the exam was very much ethics, and then, you know, and then being retested on obviously your AVBK, FAPR, and your MAC. Okay, so indirect text didn't come part of the synoptic. And then section 2 of the exam, you were doing spreadsheets, but the spreadsheets were based on accounting. So you could have been tested on AVBK, like an extended TB, or FAPS, where you were doing maybe a preparation count for partnerships, and then you had management accounting. So you could have had any management accounting tech using Excel to come up with some you know, some spreadsheet decisions. So that's now been removed. So we now have ADSY. Okay, and basically with ADSY, it is section 1 of the exam, but I think there was like 3 or 4 tasks. There's now 6 tasks. If you go on my AAT, you'll be able to see, you know, how it's been examined. And now spreadsheets is a separate assessment. Okay, and you're no longer being examined on accountancy skills within the spreadsheet. There's a little bit, but not like, oh, you've got to do an extended TB or you've got to do an appropriation account. It's very much you're tested on your spreadsheet skills. Okay, so if there is any accounting things like, oh, what's the gross profit, then they will give you advice on how to do that gross profit. So the spreadsheets doesn't form part of the synoptic. You have to pass the spreadsheets in order to get or pass the actual qualification. Okay, so hopefully it's a little bit more information, but maybe if you go on the AAT website to have a look. We did send some comms out for warning students that this change was happening, but if you're a non-captain student, you'd probably be best to go on my AAT. Let's have a look. So there's a few more questions coming through. Okay, so a lot of people panicking. Don't panic, guys. AQ16 doesn't disappear in February. It is here until June 2023. So don't panic. It's not like the other accounting qualifications where one day you're on one syllabus and the next day you're on another syllabus. We will, the AAT will be having 2 qualifications running at the same time for a period of time. So don't stress. Don't think that in February you switch over to Q22. That does not happen here with the AAT qualification. Okay, so a couple of things is If you move in, you've done some exams where you get exemptions, bear with me, it's coming, okay? Natalie saying, will it affect your employment if you don't switch? No, not at all. You know, the employers understand how AAT works. It's always been like this. So my advice is finish your level on AQ16, and then when you move on to the next level, just move on to a Q2022. You know, our advice is stay on the level, then move. But, you know, I appreciate that some people do want to move midway through. So, you know, don't worry, it won't affect your future employment whatsoever. So Matt's saying, can you swap? You can swap halfway through if you want to, Matt. I'll go through that in a second. Okay, so just very quickly, if anybody's on the bookkeeping qualifications, so with level 2 certificate in bookkeeping, not really much change from what we've got in AQ16. So you still have to do the introduction to bookkeeping and then principles of bookkeeping control, no change there. And then level 3, the certificate in bookkeeping, so currently under AQ16, it is AVBK, FAPR and indirect tax. So not massive change here, but obviously you're going to have to do FATS, as I call it, so financial accounting, so preparing financial statements, so the 2 units that have been merged into one, and obviously you've got your tax processes for business. Just one thing is, you need, if you want to get your bookkeeping overall qualification, you need to do them both, level 2 and level 3. If you decide you want to do bookkeeping and then go, you know, I've really enjoyed it, I want to complete the full level, then you can transfer over. The AAT will allow that. The big change here for Q22 on the bookkeeping qualifications is at the moment under AQ16, you are either competent or not competent, so there's no marks there, where with Q22, you will now be getting marks and you will also get a grade for your overall bookkeeping qualification, so pass, merit or distinction. Okay, right then, so here we go. I think this is where everyone's going to be right. What can we do? So we've got obviously the transitional guidance, and there is a lot of support out there to help you make that decision. I'm not saying make the decision now, make it nearer the time, you know, because you've got to keep studying. Don't stop because there is a new qualification. Don't do that whatsoever. So I think what is really important is, you know, there's 2 key objectives. February is a long way away. Okay, I know we're not thinking, it's not that far away, but it's still, you could still get a number of units completed. Okay, if you are really seriously thinking about transferring, it just means you've got to have a clever choice on the units that you choose now if you want to transfer over to Q22. Okay, but you know, keep studying on the current level. Okay, don't stop whatsoever, because you know, the sooner you qualify, better it is for you, you know, from, you know, getting pay rises from your employers, should I say, you know, or, you know, taking that job promotion, that type of thing. So just don't stop and continue on the level you are studying on. As I said, if you are serious about transferring over, and I can see the attractions for non-apprenticeship students, okay, I see that attraction because obviously there's less exams to do and you're not having the synoptic, well, you are on level 2, but not for level 3 and 4, then it's about picking the right units that then transfer over into Q22. So let's have a look then what we've got. So we've got some transitional guidance. So these are things you need to be thinking of, okay, before you go, yeah, I might take it that next step further. So if any of you have achieved some of your units prior to AQ16, so, you know, AQ13 or when it was an MVQ, and some people might have that, you know, you might have taken a break for studying for whatever reasons, and you've achieved some units prior to AQ16, then if you were to transition over to Q22, those units won't transition over, okay? So you will lose them, so effectively you will have to redo them again under Q22. So my advice to you is, if you have achieved some units on the level you are currently studying for, okay, don't move. Continue with AQ16 to get that qualification before you move over to the next level. Okay, so AQ16, the levels are referred to as qualifications, where under Q22 they're referred to as levels. So don't confuse anybody, but that's the terminology. The other thing that you also need to remember is, if you are going to transfer over, I'm really keen, I absolutely do want to move from, want to move partway through AQ16 to Q22, then basically what you've got to remember is that when you transfer over, they will only transfer at 70%. So even though you might have got 100% on that particular unit at AQ16, it'll only get transferred over at 70%. So if you are going for a distinction on your qualification on the level that you're currently studying for, don't move, okay? Because you are limiting your opportunities of getting that distinction. Okay, you want to get recognized for getting 100%. So if you're going for like a merit or distinction, you're going to limit your choices because of the way it gets transitioned from AQ16 to Q22. And then the other thing that you need to remember is that there's going to be a change in the registration. So at the moment you pay an annual membership fee. Okay, so whenever you joined it, you have to renew it every single year. When you move over to Q22, that stops. And the reason why it's stopping is because you're going to be paying a lifetime qualification fee. So you will pay up an upfront fee, and that's it. And that fee is for the whole qualification. So if you have just paid, or comes to when you come to transfer over to Q22 and you've just paid your full year's membership, you will not get any concessions of moving over to Q22. So it's also going to be costly. Okay, so it's going to cost you. So I have got the membership fees, the lifetime membership fees. And when we talk about lifetime, you will have access to all of the content on my AAT until the next qualification changes. So basically, if we were looking at the lifetime fee for AQ16, well, it'd be from when it was launched in September 2016 until it ends, which is June 23. So that's your lifetime. So I don't know when Q22 is going to get changed. We're probably looking 3 to 4 to 5 years. So that's what it means by a lifetime fee, but you're going to have to pay it up front, and there is no concessions, even though you may have just paid your annual membership fee. Okay, so that's something else to bear in mind. Yeah, so Natalie's asked a really good question. So obviously you've chosen level 2 and level 3 under probably AQ13. Okay, it doesn't matter. If you've qualified and you've got the certificate to say level 2 and level 3, that can't be taken away. Okay, can't be taken away. I qualified as a management accountant for SEMA many moons ago. They're not going to take that away from me. I've qualified. All it means is that every year I have to make sure I do my CPD, my continual professional development, to make sure I'm up to speed with all of the changes within the accounting environment. And that's the same with yourself. Okay, so they're the other factors. The other factor you need to remember is if you've paid, depending how you've paid for the course, and you've received all of the material under AQ16, probably stick on AQ16, because you're going to have to buy new books and new materials to make sure you're up to speed on Q2022. Okay, so there's another factor to think about, is if you've already got the material for AQ16 for all of the units that you're studying for that particular qualification, you're going to have to buy some new ones, okay, because there are changes. Okay. Can you get the same? Yeah, so you'll get the same exemptions. Absolutely, you still get the same exemptions for SEMA. Yeah, absolutely. Okay then, so quickly then, let's have a look at the transitional guidance for level 2. So what we're going to say is which units map over to the new qualification. So your bookkeeping transactions and your bookkeeping controls and your elements of costings, if you have got those units, okay, and you're saying, you know what, I fancy moving over, then yes, you can move over. So if you've got any of those 3 units, so you might have 1, 2, or 3, they will map over to the new qualifications. It means you do not need to sit those exams under Q2022, but remember, you will only be transferred at 70%, okay? The bits where it doesn't sit right is if you have got a using accounting software, you're going to lose it. Okay, so if you have got using accounting software, I would say don't move, okay? You might as well stay on AQ16 because otherwise you're going to lose recognition for ever completing that unit, okay? And also as well, if you've done the foundation synoptic assessment, okay, that doesn't match over to BESI, okay? So if you have got the synoptic, which I would imagine you're probably at the end of level 2 anyway, I would probably just say, or if that's the only unit you've got left to do, I would just go and sit it, okay? Because otherwise, when you move over, you're going to lose your using accounting software, and you're going to have to obviously do the business environment assessment, okay? So if you're on level 2 and you're thinking, do you know what, I still want to move over, then make sure you have completed either or BTRM, BKCL and ELCA, because they're the only units that transfer over, okay? So hopefully that will answer anybody's questions who are thinking of moving over part way through. So they're the 3 units you need to have completed. You don't need to complete all of them. Could be 1, could be 2, could be all 3, but they're the ones you need to complete that map over to Q22. So does that answer anybody's queries about transitioning on level 2? Okay, fantastic. So let's move over and have a look at level 3 then. So basically, if you are on level 3, and I know some of you have already mentioned you're on level 3, and you're looking to transfer over, then there are certain scenarios, okay? So if you're doing advanced bookkeeping and you really want to transfer over to Q22, make sure you do financial accounts preparation, so FAPR, before you move over. Because if you've achieved advanced bookkeeping but not FAPR, okay, you will then have to resit the new unit under Q22. So you need to have done those 2 units to be able to move over and not have to sit that exam, okay? Now with management accounting, so if you've got management accounting, okay, then you will either need to have the AVSY for it to map over to maths, or you will need to have done the spreadsheet assessment, okay? So if you've not done AVSY, and I would imagine if you've done AVSY, you're already at the end of level 3, but because of the changes that the AAT introduced in September, if you've got maths or you're currently studying for maths, okay, so not maths, for MMAC, and you really want to move over, then you need to do the spreadsheet assessment, okay? Because then those 2 map over to maps over Q22, okay? If you've done indirect tax, fine, that just maps straight over, okay? So hopefully that will give you, so if you're currently studying for level 3 and you want to transfer over, and some of you have already said that, if you are doing AVBK, make sure you've done FAPR to then map over to Q22. If you're doing maths, you need to do the spreadsheet assessment in order for transfer over to maths. Indirect tax just transfers over straight away. So what you will need to remember though is that when you do transfer over to Q22, you will need to do the new unit, which is the business awareness. So there is no transfer from AQ16 over to Q22. Okay, so have I answered everybody's queries, okay, about the moving over? So when will the start of the transition? So 1st of February, okay, is when the new qualification comes into play with the AAT. However, though, not all of the assessments are going to be ready in February. So not as straightforward, but I'll tell you when the exams are due to be ready. But the AAT have comes out to you about this already. I think they did so about 2 weeks ago. Okay, so I believe the AAT comes out to you on a weekly basis. I would really say is, if it's been that email that you whatever, you need to keep looking at them now, because they are going to be feeding you with information about the new qualification, and obviously that may impact on your decisions of whether to stay on AQ16 or transfer over. Okay then, so let's have a look then at level 4. Oh, somebody else is just asking me a question. Julie, you can actually stay on AQ16. if you want to. So if you want to stay on AQ16, you can do to complete level 3. Okay, you can do that. So you have until, so anybody who's brand new to AAT and the 1st of February comes into play next year, you are on Q2022. If, however, you're on AQ16, you can stay on AQ16. Okay, so you have got the possibility. That's a really good question, Julie. So yeah, you can do if you want to. Okay. Okay, anybody else got any more questions? Or what would I recommend? I would recommend, if you are finishing one level, I would go on to the new qualification, because what's happening is I would move on to the new qualification. That would be my advice. Okay, so finish the level qualification, level 2, level 3, level 4, then move over. Okay, and the reason being is that all, training providers are going to start focusing on, the new qualification. I mean, we will still be selling material on AQ16, and we still will be offering courses, but as time progresses, it'll get it will, we'll be obviously taking that shift over to AQ to Q22, but we'll still have our on-demand and distance learning around. Oh, no such thing as a stupid question, Craig. Yeah, we still will be doing live online training for AQ16 for a period of time. I'm not saying we'll still be teaching it in June 23, but we'll certainly be looking at demand. So yeah, so we will be offering live online for a period of time. So we're not just going to stop like 1st of February, stop, no, because we appreciate that there are students who are still going to be studying AQ16. So yeah, don't worry about that. That's all in hand, but we will obviously, be keeping an eye on demand and stuff. So yeah, don't you worry about that. Will Q22 be on that? Yeah, it's going to be available on demand. Absolutely. I can promise you the content guys are frantically working at this moment to on your material. Okay, so yeah, absolutely. Right then, so let's move on to level 4. So let's have a look at the compulsory units first of all then. So Lee, no, if you're doing AVBK now, I would do AVBK now and do FAPR. So if you're studying with Kaplan, you're doing AVBK now, November time, you'll move over to FAPR, do those 2 units. You even may be doing indirect tax in January, do those 3 units, transfer over if you want to. But if you're an apprenticeship, you need to check with the apprenticeship team, okay? Because I don't know off the top of my head whether the decision is to make you stay on AQ16 for the time being or whether you should transfer over, okay? So that's all right. Okay, so level 4 then. Right, think about the units and which units you've completed. So if you have done MABU and MDCL, then yeah, you can transfer over because that maps over to the new Applied Management Accounting unit. If you've got either or, so MABU or MDCL, no, don't transfer over, stick on AQ16 because you need the other unit for it to transfer over. If you then transfer over and you've only got one or the other, you're still going to have to do the Applied Management Accounting exam. Okay, so you kind of sit in half of the exam twice. Okay. If you have got FSLC, so Financial Statements of Limited Companies, that maps over straight over. So if you've got that unit, fantastic, you can move over. Now, in order to be exempt from the internal controls unit on Q22, you will need to have done PDSY. So if your fee payer or fee payers has said, you might have done that after you've done the compulsory units, fine. If you got PDSY, it maps over to internal controls. However, though, I've got the feeling that many of you will be doing PDSY at the end. So if you've only got that unit to do, just stick on AQ16. It's not worth it, okay? So I just got to learn new stuff and stuff. So that's kind of my advice to you. So that's with the compulsory. So if you're doing MABU and MDCL, yeah, transfers over. If you've done financial statements, okay, so FSLC, yeah, fine, that transfers over. So if you've just started level 4 in September, okay, and you're doing MABU now, or you're doing MDCL, probably MABU, then aim to do MDCL before you move over, okay? If, however, you've started off with financial statements, yeah, you can move over. There's no problems there, okay? So they're the kind of things I'm coming from. So does that help you on the compulsory units on level 4? Anybody got any questions on the compulsory? Don't worry, I'm going to move on to the optionals, okay? I'll just hang fire because usually I go, oh, nobody's got any questions, and somebody's typing a really long question, and I kind of moved on. Okay, I don't think anyone's got any questions. So hopefully that answers everybody's questions. So certainly, you know, if you are doing your units now, it's planning which ones I need to have done so I can transfer safely over to Q22. But don't forget, 70% the transfer, you're going to have to pay the membership one-off fee, okay, lifetime fee, okay, and if you have already acquired the material, you know, under AQ16, you will have to buy new material. Okay, so these are all of the things that you need to remember. Okay, so in terms of the optional units, I've just lost my thread of thought there. So the good news is they all move over. Okay, they all move over, they transfer directly over too. However, though, what I would say is if you have done business tax and you think, I wouldn't mind doing personal tax because you've really enjoyed it, what you've got to remember is that the rules you will have learned with business tax, okay, so the Finance Act, you will have learned with business tax. If you move over to personal tax under Q22, you're on a new Finance Act, okay? So it probably be better if you have done one of the tax units and you want to do the other tax unit, is probably to stay on AQ16 because the Finance Act is not changing, okay? So whatever you've learned on business tax is going to be the same with personal tax. Otherwise, you're going to have to learn all the new acts, okay? The new Finance Act. So that's kind of the bit of advice we're giving. External audit maps over very nicely, as does cash and treasury management, as does credit management. So level 4, fairly straightforward in transferring over. It's just making sure you've done MABU and MDCL in terms of that. I think the difficult one, or the more complicated one, is level 3 because of the way the units are going. Will you be automatically transferred over? No, you will have to register. The only time you will get automatically transferred over is when AQ16 ceases to exist, which will be the 30th of June 2023. So if you've not completed a level as of June 23, you'd be moved over to Q22. Well, I wouldn't say you'd be moved over, you'd have to pay the new membership fee. That's what it would happen. So yeah, so absolutely. So no, you don't need to opt out, you need to buy in, Lauren. It's a really good question. No, you will need to opt in to Q22, you will need to register. Okay, if you don't register, you won't be moving over. What is a lifetime fee? It's one fee for the full length of the qualification. Okay, so it's until Q22 ceases to exist. So AQ16, if you was paying a lifetime fee for AQ16, which you're not, but as an example, you would have, you know, the start of the qualification started on the 1st of September 2016. It will cease to exist from the 1st of July 2023. So that's your lifetime fee. So there is a significant amount of time for you to gain that level, that qualification. Okay, and it's per level. Okay, that's really, really means. How much? It's coming on. Rebecca, hang fire. I've got the fees in a memento. Is there a charge to take more than 2 optional units? There will be from your training provider, because obviously you'll need to pay extra to do the course and the material, and there will be an extra exam fee and assessment fee to do it. But that's your decision if you want to do it. You know, I can see if you wanted to get the exemptions, certainly with ICAW, then if you do the 3 options, so business, personal tax and external audit, then you would get exempt from the certificate level. Okay, if you didn't do all 3, you don't get the exemptions, or you get some exemptions. Okay, right then, so what comes next here? Okay, obviously you've got the transitional guidance for the bookkeeping qualification. And basically BTRM, BKCL maps straight over, and if you're doing level 3, make sure you've done AVBK and FAPR before you move over, because otherwise you will still have to sit the financial accounting rules. Okay, Laura's just saying my membership will be renewing towards the end of this year. No, so yes, if Laura, if you happen to renew your membership, okay, that renewal of the membership will allow you to continue on AQ16. But if you wanted to move onto level 4 under Q2022, you will have to pay the full membership fee the full new membership fee or the lifetime fee. Okay, so that's the thing that you need to think about. So I'll give you the prices in a momento. In terms of that, so yeah, your student membership fee is currently only covering AQ16. If you want to move over to Q22, you have to pay the lifetime membership fee, and as I said before, there's no concession. So yeah, you just need to be wary of when your membership fees are due. And if you think, oh, I'll just hang fire and I won't pay, but if you've still got exams to do, you need to make sure you've got your membership to be able to sit the exam. So sorry guys, that's the AT ruling. Right then, so in terms of transitional support, the AAT, on my AAT, okay, they have produced a transitional widget, I would suggest. So if you really wanted to go and check with them, go and have a play with that. They released that last Friday. Okay, so the SEMS outcomes, which is why it's so important to make sure you do read those weekly emails from the AAT, because obviously they are feeding you lots of information now. Also as well, if you're unsure, you can always contact our student services. They have a very detailed transitional guidance written by myself, but basically what I've just said to you in terms of, oh, this is this, I've got this, I've got that, what should I do? But it's essentially what I've just told you. Also as well, we will be providing transitional guidance on our website that is being currently written by our marketing guys and will be available shortly. Okay, I would say within the next week or so. So you can always refer to that, but it's based on what I've already told you today. But obviously, you know, you might have forgotten or it might be too much information I've given to you in a short period of time. So yes, please do so. So there's lots of advice out there. I keep saying is, you know, aim to stick on this qualification on AQ16, then move over. But I do appreciate there's a lot of people who want to move over. So I need to make sure I'm giving you the right advice. And also as well, just one thing just to note, if for anybody who does move over to Q22, and certainly from us from Capital and Financial, there might be some knowledge gaps. So things that were tested on, things that was assumed knowledge on AQ16 on those units, may be missing under the new unit. So we will be providing you with additional resources via My Kaplan when you do book onto those courses. So if we're going, oh, this is assumed knowledge from the unit that you would have done under Q22, but you didn't do under AQ16, here is the information you need to know. So we are there to obviously support you throughout that transition period. Right, Tracy, you're asking if you pay the lifetime fee in January, you won't be able to pay it in January. It only becomes available on the 1st of February, but the 1st of February means you will only be able to sit the exams under Q22. So if you want to stay on AQ16, then you need to continue paying your annual membership fee. Okay. Right then, so what we've got now are the registration fees. So I've not included the exam fees because that does differ from training provider to training provider, okay? But the fees will have gone up because the AAT have put their fees up, but obviously, you know, training providers then have to put their admin fees on there, and that's purely because of the invigilation process and stuff like that. So what I've included is your lifetime fee, okay? So if you decide you want to do the level 2 certificate and bookkeeping, okay, so that's the short qualification, then your one-off registration fee is £65. If you want to do the level 3 certificate and bookkeeping, so the short qualification, but at level 3, then your lifetime registration fee is £90. If you want to do the Q22, qualification, then your lifetime registration fee is 172, where with level 3 it's 225 and level 4 it's 240. So you will pay that fee when you move over to that level, and basically it's going to be there for a significant period of time. So you're probably looking 4 to 5 years, okay? So that's your fee over that 5-year period. What it means is you will have access to the level that you've obviously paid for as such. Okay, so hopefully those fees aren't too scary. Obviously, you know, it's probably more than what you're paying now on an annual basis, but if you think about the time period it's going to take you to complete that qualification, it averages itself out. So it's just averaging itself out, but instead of doing an annual, it's an upfront fee. Okay, so has anybody got any questions regarding the registration fee? These, yes, so Aaron, just to confirm that if you decide to stick on AQ16, okay, you will continue to pay the annual student membership. It is only when you move over and register under Q22, so you will need to register yourself under Q22 with the AAT and pay that one-off registration fee. So it's only if you move over, okay? Nope, the registration, it is a one-off fee, that is it. Okay, and it's not in addition to your membership fee. Yeah, there's no, under Q22, once you've paid that one-off fee, there are no further membership fees to pay. Yeah, Aaron, yeah, you could. If you're registered at level 4 under no, if you're registered, I'm going to ask you a question. Are you meaning Q22 or AQ16, Aaron? No, so if you register at level 4, you can't go and do level 3, no. So yeah, it's, whereas now under AQ16, when you're moving between levels, as long as your membership, you're in, you know, within time within your membership, you are fine. So hopefully that helps you there, Aaron. So no, I can see where your man's thinking, oh, I'll just do level 4, but I'll just do all the, no, you have to, you will only be able to do the exam. So, and if you think, oh, I'll still do it anyway, when you come to sit the exams, you know, we obviously have to schedule our exams. We won't be able to schedule the exams under level 3 because you're only registered for level 4. Okay, so sorry about that, but I like your way you're thinking. I do like that. Okay then, so just some key things, key dates, which I think are important. Okay, so the last day you can register for AQ16. So if you haven't already registered and you're a brand new student, that is the 31st of January. Okay, you can register for or you can start to register for Q22 as of the 1st of February 22. Alice has just asked a really good question. So do you know what the process for registering Q22 will be in February? At this moment in time, no, the AAT have not given me that information, but I would imagine you will go on their website and you will go and register as you did when you were registering for AQ16. It will be a similar process. So it'll be a very similar process in relation to that. But at the minute, the AAT haven't given us privy to that information, but it's a very good question, and I'll certainly can chase the AAT up on that one. Okay, now for those who actually are quite happy with AQ16, you know, and you want to remain on AQ16, then you have until June 2023, so the 30th of June 23, to get the whole qualifications done, or the level that you're particularly studying for. So you've got a significant period of time in order to get AQ16 completed. Okay, so for those who are keen and eager, and that's the impression I'm getting from the session today, then we will have the content and material will be available for distance learning and on-demand students from December. Okay, so I think we're aiming for the 1st of December. You can start to buy our courses in November in preparation for, it's like a pre-registration, a pre-order. You can start to do that from November. Watch out for our websites in terms of the information that is coming. So that is currently actually being written as we speak now. So keep an eye on our websites for the information of when we will start to sell the courses and when the courses will be available. Because sometimes there's some people who really, really want to get the courses ordered. So you can do, and you can start studying for those exams from December 20. Oh, I've said December 20, December 21. Don't know why I've said December 20. Sorry guys, December 21. Bit of a nice mistake there. In terms of when you can start to sit your exams, okay, it's not as straightforward. So some exams will not be available until April 2022, okay? So if you're level 4 and you're planning on doing the optional units, you will not be able to do so until April 2022, okay? So there's a bit of a time period, there's like a 2 months gap for that. So you might go, that's not bad, that'll give you a bit more time, or you might go, actually, I'm ready to sit the exam in February, I might as well start on AQ16. So these are things to think about. The AAT did communicate this. The other exam that will not be available until Q until April is the BESI at level 2, so the BESY exam. That also won't be available until April 22. So the other units will start to be available between February and the beginning of March. So I don't think that would seriously affect you in terms of that, but that's just the key thing is BESI at level 2, so the synoptic at level 2, which everyone has to sit, and the optional units at level 4 will not be available until April. Okay, so just bear that one in mind. You know, AT comes out a couple of weeks ago in terms of that. For those who are keen and eager and want to know when we're going to start offering the classroom and live online courses, they will start to be available from March 2022. So, you know, don't worry, for those who are already on AQ16, we're suddenly not withdrawing those courses. We'll be running 2 AAT courses. So you AQ16 and Q22 students won't be merging together because we just can't do it. Okay. So there will be 2 courses running, or we will be running the 2 qualifications at the same time. Okay. So we will start Q22 from March 22. So watch our website. I'm not sure when we're going to start issuing the timetables. They're being worked on at the moment. So watch this space. But yeah, absolutely, that's when you'll be able to start studying for the courses in a classroom or via live online. Do I know how much they will be? I don't know off the top of my head if I have to be honest, but they will be available. So there will be like a price range from what the course is going to be. So to be honest, I don't know them off the top of my head, if I'm perfectly honest. Okay, I just know what the product's about. I just don't know what the prices are. I generally hand on heart don't know what the prices are, but it will be on our website. So yeah, so watch the space. Okay, right then. So has anybody else got any more questions? I'm hoping you found that really, really useful and has given you some further information and allowing you to go away and think about what you need to do. You know, I'm going to keep saying stay on AQ16. That's what the AAT is saying, stay on AQ16, you know, until you get the level. But I do appreciate there is a little bit of a demand for transferring over. So if you are, bear in mind the information I've been giving to you. So does your unit map over, or do you need to do 2 units to map over to one of the new units? You'll only get transferred over at 70%. You will have to pay the upfront lifetime membership fee. If you've already bought the material under AQ16, you're going to have to buy it again under Q22. So there's a lot of things that you need to consider. And also as well, is the assessment going to be available when you want to sit that particular exam? Okay, so I will stay online for a couple of minutes. I've slightly overrun, there's only meant to be an hour, slightly overrun. So I'll stay online for a couple of minutes, okay, in case anybody has any questions you would like to ask me. But all I can say is thank you very much for taking your time out, and particularly if it was your lunch hour, to listen to me. I hope you're enjoying your AAT studies, whether it's with Kaplan or with somebody else, but, you know, good luck with the studies, you know, and, you know, if you've got any questions or queries, then please contact our student services or go on the AAT website or look at our website in a couple of weeks. It's going to be there about what you should do. But in the meantime, keep studying under AQ16. Don't pause, don't. You know, the best thing for you to do is keep on studying. Okay then, so thank you very much, and I will see you all shortly. Thank you, Lee. No, Shane, if you've got level 2 and you've got the certificate and it's telling you that you are past merit or distinction, that's not going anywhere. So it's only if you transfer partway through does the 70% ruling. If you've already got level 2, no one is going to take level 2 away from you. You've already got that qualification. They can't take it away from you. And that's your certificate. And that's what you will, you know, if you're going for, you know, a new job or showing your boss or anything, that you've got the qualification at level 2. So hopefully that's helped. Shane, it'll be the marketing department who will send the recorded links over, or this recorded session. Yes, it'll be marketing that will send it over, so you will receive an email. So yeah. Okay then, nobody else has asked me any more questions. Oh, somebody else just asked me one last minute. Okay, thank you, Shane. Okay, so Catherine. It's up to you, Catherine. You can stay on AQ16 if you want to. There's no harm in staying on AQ16. If you've obviously, if you're due to take your personal tax and exam in December, yeah, keep on. If you've done all the hardware, don't stop. Okay, continue to do your exam, your personal tax in December, and you've obviously received your course info for financial statements. So that would suggest you'd receive the material. I would stick on those two. So if you've done those 2 units and they're the only 2 units you've done, okay, it's up to you. It's your choice. I'm not saying yes or no. The only thing is if you were tempted to do business tax under Q22, you're doing it under a new Finance Act. Okay, so that's the only, I would say, hurdle of moving over. So it's completely and utterly your decision in what you decide to do. Okay, but I've given you all the facts, and the figures. There's no disadvantage staying on AQ16. There's no advantage on staying on, moving over to Q22. It's your decision, what you feel comfortable with. Yeah, absolutely, Amanda. I would say you need to stay on level. Yeah, you need to stay on AQ16. But you've got a phenomenal amount of time to get this all done, and as well, I suppose it gives you that motivation to make sure you do get it all done by June 23. Because we're like, it's ages and ages, but before we know it, it'll be June 23. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I would aim. So if you've got all the material, I would stick on AQ16. It's here to stay for a while. That's okay, Amanda. Okay, has anybody got any more questions before I finish the session? Oh, another one coming through. Well, the content of the new syllabus is the same. There is a vast majority of the material of the syllabus content is similar to what you've got on AQ16, but you've got to remember that there's some new content coming through. As I mentioned before, under the FAPS, so the FAPS, there's new stuff on ratios and stuff, so you wouldn't have that on AQ16. But you will get examined on it in the Q22, so you would have knowledge gaps. So I gather from the question you're asking me, Shane, is your material suffice under AQ16 to sit Q22? I would be nervous saying yes, because of the new content areas that's been examined, and therefore you'd have those gaps. And if you didn't know what those gaps were, then you could struggle in the exam. Yeah, so if you're wanting distinction, Catherine, if you're wanting a distinction on that qualification, and you've got like 100%, between 90 and 100% on the units you've already gained, I'd probably stick on AQ16, because they will only get transferred over at 70%, and that will limit your choice. I mean, have a play with the numbers, because obviously there's different percentages to get that grading, isn't there? But certainly, if you've only got indirect tax and you've got 90%, have a look at what the overall qualification, how much that unit feeds into the overall qualification grade, because it might be that you could get a distinction with the rest of the units in that level, but it is limiting your chances. It means you've got to really do really well. Okay, so it's not as straightforward as anything. Yeah, if you get 70% on the exam under AQ16, it'll get transferred over at 70% on the AQ6. Sorry, on the Q22. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, has anybody else got any more questions? Okay, so nobody else has got any more questions. So I'm going to leave it there for today. So I hope you've enjoyed the webinar and you're a little bit more aware of Q22 and whether or not to stay on AQ16 or whether you want to transfer over to Q22. Thank you very much.